what do you think needs to change? What actionable steps, right? Because I think I talk a few I have a few conversations of like, hey, like with a couple of my black friends up here, I'm like, they're like, it's just always been talk. So it's like we need to move on from talk, right? There's
Right.
that urgency to like, hey, we need to get on this step as we've seen this happen over and over. Like, so what do you think, or what actionable steps need to be taken in the justice or system, or in a systematic level, to shift or move, to where it can bring equity in
Right.
that? So what do you think that looks like?
See, so that's a tough question. I will say this: the feeling from the Black community is that no one cares, and that the government is not going to do anything to fix this. And so, as a result, typically you go to government officials to try to bring change like this in the system. But when you feel like the government is against you, then you can't go to the government.
Mm.
And this brings us to the church. The church has an amazing opportunity now to really be the church, because um, the Black community is like, okay, well, if I can't get justice from the government, then who else fights for injustice? And it should be the church. That goes back to Dr. King, where he fought for the rights, and it was the church, that stepped in, and it was clergy that stepped in, that marched right alongside Dr. King. So this is a great opportunity for the church to arise up, because at this point, the greatest thing that someone that's not African American, that is wanting to help bring down this injustice in our country, the first steps is like, one, to be able to emphasize or show empathy, like to care, like, okay, I get it, and maybe get some understanding, like, okay, this is not right, and to really be able to say this is not right. Like, it's one thing to say, it's one thing to know it's not right. It's another thing to step up and to say, hey, this is not right.
Why
And
do you think that's powerful? I want to stop you there. Why do you think? Because I think there's a lot of good stuff. Like, a lot of Minnesotans are pitching in to, like, rebuild Minneapolis right now this weekend. Um, but I want to, you know, have that awareness. Like, why is it important for people to say that? You know?
because this is the biggest thing right here, right now. The Black community needs allies.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
need allies. It can't just be the Black community. We're outnumbered and we're small. And
Mm,
so, obviously, as a country, our voice is not loud enough.
yeah.
So, we need more voices, more people connected, that feels our pain and has the same passion, that wants to come alongside and be a voice with us.
Yeah.
It's just like anybody you feel like you're being bullied. It's just like anybody being bullied. So if the Hmong community was being bullied by another group, you would want, and you couldn't get any justice, you would want somebody to come alongside of you
Mhm.
and to help you and say, okay, now, stop messing with my boy Koo. Stop messing, like,
Yeah.
stop bullying them. Stop getting over on them. This is injustice. This is not right. And that's where we're at, is that we got to get to a point where more people needs to come alongside and say it's not right. And I keep saying, especially the church, because the church should be the ones that have the most compassion. This is not political. This is not anything other
So,
than, you know um human
right.
rights, human beings, being a human in this world. And actually, if we are to live in this country and to have, this country is set up to be so great and so awesome. But when the country is not doing what I guess what it's supposed to do. Like we're supposed to be freedom for all and justice and freedom for all and everything else. And you see injustice taking place. That's a problem, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
and the other thing is like if it can happen to us, it can happen to anybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, I think one thing that I've learned from you as you're just, kind of, shedding light on, the Black Lives Matter from, and I know you don't speak for all Black people, but just from the feeling of the community, in that where, I never realized that, you know, Black folks don't trust the government, and that's so valid. And I'm like, wow, like you supposed like, how do we go to you when you've never had our back? So it's kind of like I won't talk to that parent who has never been around, or you know what I mean? Like how I've interpreted. I'm like, I've never understood. I've never even thought of that, or that was like kind of just a light bulb, in
yeah,
my mind. We're like, so who did they go to then? You know what I mean? And it's like you're saying, like who's left, right? The church. They have to make a move on this, and and I think that's one thing that's so eye-opening, and understanding, like, and also I think for me it's like vocalizing, right? That, hey, I need more allies. I've always felt like when someone like encourages me in front of a crowd, or kind of affirms me or gives me approval in front of a crowd, right? They give me power, right?
yeah,
And in that, it's like I'm not alone.